Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm home from vacation and I have so many books that came. I teased you guys with the pile of packages that awaited me when I got home, and I have a lot of things to show you. So we're gonna do that. So a lot of things have come in while I was away. We bought a lot of things while we were away. We were just in Spain and Portugal, and the only things I really knew about Portugal were that you can buy port there. It's really pretty and everybody seems to love it when they go. But also, they have a lot of bookstores. So we went ahead and we went book shopping. I'm going to take you through everything I picked up, and I'm going to take you through all the random things that arrived while I was gone, some things that I haven't showed you guys yet. Hopefully this book haul works. I have filmed, I think, 2 or 3 book hauls recently for you guys. I mean, like in the last 2 or 3 months that I've never posted because something has gone wrong. So hopefully this one works because I want to show you guys everything I got. So I think I've showed most of these in my little vacation vlog, but I know not everybody likes vlogs, and these are all going to fall. But this is everything we purchased on vacation, I believe. I always hit the airport bookstore before I leave because I'm just curious to see what they're stocking in there. And they had The Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert, and I had to buy it because you know I love a good vampire smut. I've heard it's literally just sex. I have to read it, and I'm really excited, and I'm glad that I have it. I wanted to get Ordinary Monsters. I think that's what it's called. But I was like, no, I will get that at another time. Also, it's so chunky that I wasn't willing to put that in my suitcase right at the very beginning of the trip. For Jesus, we picked up Pandora, which sounds really fun. And if he doesn't like it, it sounds like something I will like. These we got from Portugal. Almost all of our books we got in Portugal. All the books from here on out we got in Portugal. We got this really beautiful edition of the first book, The School of Good and Evil, because I really wanted to read it. He was intrigued by it. Look at these beautiful sprayed edges. This book is stunning. Look at the inside. Look at the naked. It's a stunning book. Like, it's absolutely stunning. And I'm excited to have it so that we can both read this. And if he doesn't like it, I probably will. There's a problem when you're both big readers because you just buy too many books. Yeah, and I don't really even have like souvenirs from vacation. I literally just like bought books, which is not a problem. I picked up Frankenstein by Junji Ito, which I started. I have to get back into it, but it's kind of been like checked and packed places, so I haven't been able to read it. I read a little bit while we were in Porto, the night I got it, but then I've had to like find it in my luggage, but super excited. This was on sale too, and like none of the Junji Itos I feel like are ever on sale when we're here in the States, so like super psyched for this one. This I'd never seen before in the US, and I just don't know if it's just not popular or it wasn't printed in the US, but it's The Enigma of Room 622 by Joel Dicker. Probably not said right because there's umlauts, but this is the story of like a writer who's like sort of on a like retreat to this like remote Swiss hotel, and there's this creepy room 622 where like there's something about it. Turns out there's like murder that happened in it. And it just gives me, reading the back gave me like the final episodes of Poirot, where like Poirot's dying, but he's in the Swiss Alps or somewhere like that. And like there's a murder, and like, I don't know, there was something very Poirot sounding about this. It reminded me of a good Agatha Christie. So I'm really excited to get into this chunky mystery. It's cold. I think it's going to be perfect for winter, and I'm really psyched about this. And I'd never seen it before. I'd never even heard of this author. Super psyched about it. I picked up The Betrayals, which I wonder if you guys have ever read this, anybody, because it looks really good and it sounds like really interesting, sort of dark academia-esque, like YA. And I was here for the back of the book, but I could never really hear anybody talking about it, so I wonder if it's any good. Also, it's stunning, so if you've read it, please let me know. Discussion of stunning. I picked up the cloth-bound, penguin cloth-bound editions of Nella Larsen's Passing, which is phenomenal, and if you've never read this, please read this. And this is a beautiful edition of it. And this and these two are both new to the collection of the cloth bounds this year. And this is Calvino's Cosmicomics, which is an Italian author, classic sort of sci-fi kind of literature. And I'm really excited to get into this because I've been very curious about this particular story. And I think I have another one of their books. I think it's Christ Stops at Eboli. I think that's the same author. I took an Italian art and literature course in college, and it was really lovely. And I really enjoyed everything that we talked about in that class. And I would like to read this because I just feel like it's a classic that would fit with Alyssa really nicely. And also, these editions are beautiful, and I kind of need more of these in my life. And they're like so like perfectly petite and like great for travel. Love. Speaking of petite and great for travel, I at the Libria Lello, the fancy library in Porto, that was beautiful but super crowded and not as well stocked as I think either of us really wanted. My biggest disappointment was that Jose Saramago, who is this big Portuguese author, like he is the Portuguese author, has an entire section there, and none of his books were translated into English, which is fine. We weren't, whatever. They were translated into Portuguese. Well, they weren't translated. They're written in Portuguese, and they were translated into Spanish, but they had no editions in any of the other languages they carried in the store. They had lots of things in like French and German and English, but none of his works, which was really frustrating for me because he wrote Blindness. I really like his writing. I think he's a very interesting author, and I really wanted to find something in a special edition of his while I was in Portugal, and they didn't have it, and that made me sad. So I'm still sort of on the lookout because we both really want to go back to Portugal and see more because we loved Portugal so much. So maybe one day I will find an edition of his work that has been translated into English, is special, and is from Portugal. These are what I got instead. So I got these beautiful, they have their own, like, like Barnes & Noble makes their own editions of things, or special editions. So these are their special editions of some of the classic works. We really wanted Alice in Wonderland, but they didn't have it in English, so we didn't get it. But we did get Dracula. And this is a beautiful edition of Dracula, which I guess I really need to reread Dracula because I don't even know if I like Dracula. And I now have two stunning editions because of the inability to not buy books. And then I also picked up another edition of Pride and Prejudice because I need more Pride and Prejudice books. Like I need a hole in my head, but it's beautiful. I just really liked it. And now I have like a pocket-sized Pride and Prejudice for the next time I reread it. So I also picked up this copy of Don Juan, which is a Save the Story edition. So this whole initiative is about taking classic literature and sort of retelling them in like children's book form. So you save the stories of classic lit, and like this, it's just beautiful, and it felt like it really needed to exist in my collection because, it's just, it's stunning. And I loved the whole like initiative, so I kind of wanted to put my money to something that I think is a really great thing. I like to make my my money at least sometimes do good because most of the time it ends up going to Amazon, and that's not good. Anyway, so this is Pushkin's children's book. So like Pushkin Press we love Pushkin Press. They do a lot of the translated works that we love, we being me and Naomi. They have a whole collection of these children's Save the Story books, and I'd like to see if I can find more of these. There's a few that I'm very intrigued by. And they're stories from across the world, which is really nice. They have The Nose, which is a great piece of Russian, like short like story fiction. So good. And I'd love to see that illustrated. Big Crime and Punishment, King Lear. It's really cool. I think that this is a great edition, like a great initiative that I never heard of before. And now I know about it because I went to Portugal and bought books. There's also an edition of Alice in Wonderland that Jesus picked up that I can't seem to find. There was also like a children's story version of Alice in Wonderland that was a special like edition from Libria Lello. He picked up for himself because he really loves Alice in Wonderland. So that was really nice. At the same time I got the Frankenstein from Junji Ito. We're moving out of Libria Lello. We're going back to just regular books. The Jujutsu Kaisen manga I've been really curious about, so I picked up 0 and 1. And again, these were on sale, and I never see these on sale either because this is a very popular manga series as well. So I'm really excited to dive into this. So I picked up the first 2 of this story, and I'll see how I like it, and then we'll see how How addicted I get. I think this is the last thing I got on vacation. We picked up Isabel Allende's Violetta because we both will end up reading this, and I just like this edition. I love that when you're overseas, you can get paperbacks so readily because I like having a hardback for my shelves, but I prefer reading a paperback. And then I have a whole bunch of random books that have arrived, whether they're birthday presents, from publishers, things I've bought myself, etc., etc. So we're just going to go on a free-for-all of books. I'm not explaining all these to you. This is just a haul of epic proportions for fun. I got from my friend Dree for my birthday, Beasts and Beauty. These are the sort of retelling of classic like children's stories, fairy tales, etc. that came out I think last year. And I'm super excited to get into these. But I think these are kind of like darker. They're kind of bent differently. And I'm really excited. I think they take them to, no, is it darker or do they take these to different like points of view, like different cultural points of view? I can't remember. So these are respun old tales into a fresh fabric for a new era and creates a world like no other. These are the stories they know. They understand you, they reflect you, and they are tales of our times, so read on if you dare. So they're sort of like reimaginings of stories that you're very familiar with, and there's beautiful artwork as I've been showing you inside, and I just want to snuggle up and read it because it's gorgeous. It's a stunning, stunning book. And I remember people really liking it when it first came out, then I never really heard anything about it again, but that's fine. That happens all the time. I have to scan all these into the house. Also for my birthday, I got a copy of Prince of Foxes, which is the first in a series that came from my friend Emma. So thank you, Emma. And this I'm very excited about. I feel like, where did I hear about this? I feel like I heard about this on Elle Brooks. Brittany, I always want to call her Brittany Murphy. Murphy Napier. I can't remember. But this is a fantasy trilogy. Sometimes a fox is not a fox and a man is not what he seems. I'm really excited for this one. I feel like Naomi sent me something, but I can't remember. I think this is kind of all of the stuff that's come from publishers recently. I'm broadly using the term recently. The Spite House by Johnny Compton was sent to me by Tor Nightfire. Super excited for this. We talk about this in our winter anticipated reads, and I'm really excited about this. Like Spooky House, you get something if you manage to survive the spooky house, that structure of a story. I'm really excited to read it. I love a good spooky damn house. Grand Central sent me this, which is a podcast that I don't listen to, but it sounded really interesting. And this is The Skeptic's Guide to the Future, what yesterday's science and science fiction tell us about the world of tomorrow. And I love science fiction, so I just thought this would be a really interesting and fun nonfiction spin on my love of science fiction. And also it looks fantastic. Oh gosh, there's so much stuff in here. The Stars Undying. This came from Orbit, which I like. The things I randomly get from Orbit, like I wish I was just on the Orbit list. I see this all this time, but like I'm not. It's just sometimes Orbit reaches out and they're like, do you want this book? And I'm like, usually yes. But anyway, this is Emery Robin. This comes out in November. This is The Stars Undying. This is a sweeping, spectacular space opera debut inspired by the lives and loves of Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. I don't know what that means, but it sounded fantastic. We finally found book 6 in The Girl from the Other Side, so I can get back to The Girl from the Other Side. Obviously, this does not come from a publisher, but like I finally found it online. This one's really hard to find. There's always, why manga readers, is there always an edition or two that's really hard to find? I don't get it. And it's always like smack dab in the middle of a series. How is like that one volume, the volume you can't find? I don't know if you can tell, but it was definitely chewed by somebody's dog. But it's okay. We have it, and that means I can continue on with this manga series because I loved it. I got this book from Riverhead, and it's called Hatching: Experiments in Motherhood and Technology, which I can't remember when this comes out. This comes out in December, and this is just a nonfiction about the technology around fertility, infertility treatments, motherhood, the female body. I just thought, given everything that's been going on this year with women's rights, our bodies, our uteruses, or uteri. This was an interesting read. From Vintage was Water, a biography, which just sounded really interesting. This is again a nonfiction, but this is from a research associate at the Smith School of Enterprise and Environment at Oxford, and it combines environmental and social history beginning with the earliest civilizations of sedentary farmers on the banks of the Nile and the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, and he describes how these societies were made possible by sea level changes from the last glacial melt. And I, it just felt like it was very interesting, like the way that water has affected our ability to live and how civilizations rise and fall. And it just looks like a very interesting perspective to take. Naomi also has this, so we may be reading this together and talking about it on the podcast. So if you want to know more about this, let us know. We'll definitely read it and talk about it on the podcast. We also got Papyrus, the Invention of Books in the Ancient World, because why wouldn't we? I think this is out now, and if it's not out now, it's out shortly. But this, I mean, I have to read this. This I have to read. And also in like nonfiction world, this book arrived from, I believe this is also from Vintage, the other day, and this is called Feeling and Knowing, Making Minds Conscious. And this just sounded like a good sort of philosophical read about our brains and like collective consciousness, etc., etc. In recent decades, many philosophers and cognitive scientists have declared the question of consciousness unsolvable, but this author, who's one of the world's leading neuroscientists, is convinced that recent findings in biology, neuroscience, psychology, and artificial intelligence have given us the necessary tools to solve the mystery. So definitely think it will be an interesting read. I don't know if I'll agree with everything, but it definitely would be interesting. The more I look around, the more I find books. Naomi did send me a book. I knew Naomi sent me a book for my birthday, and it was This is the Canon, Decolonize Your Bookshelf in 50 Books. And I really want to go through this entire thing book by book and just make like an experiment out of it, like a whatever. So I don't know if I make that a series, if we do it on the channel. I don't know what. But this is basically a collection of sort of essays about different books, and there's 50 books, and the idea is to decolonize your bookshelf by reading these 50 books and sort of getting out of like the general like white Northern European sort of like you know norm that is our lives. So you have things in here like things fall apart, kindred. I'm trying to pick things that like I know people are gonna know. Salt, which I really want to read. The God of Small Things, The White Tiger, The Kite Runner. You've got some Zadie Smith in here. Got a lot of books on this list that sound really interesting. This is going to be like a sort of experiment. And while I'm back here, Scrivener sent me this beautiful like coffee table book of like behind the scenes of Bridgerton, and I fangirled so hard. I'm super excited. It's just. I also have the fourth book in the John Dies at the End series. This threw me off because I didn't realize that the first three books were written under a pen name. So like it took me so long when I was asked if I wanted this to figure out that these all tie together, because I was like, isn't this series by David Wong instead of this Jason Pargan guy, but they're one and the same. I do need to get to this series, but like I was like, you know what, if you're offering me the fourth, I feel like I'm really gonna love this series. I have a good feeling about it. I'm gonna hop on the arc. We're gonna get there, but yes, if I need to prioritize the series, please tell me. Also from Tor Nightfire is Sister Maiden Monster, which comes out February, and I'm really excited about this because they had me out a professional BDSM switch. So a virus tears across the globe, transforming its victims in nightmarish ways. As the world collapses, dark forces pull a small group of women together. You have these three women, including a BDSM professional, and they have to, I guess, solve the world from the coming apocalypse. And it just sounded really fun. Psyched for this one. I think I put up a short about this, but book 3 of Lore Olympus arrived. This was my birthday present to me, along with all the books that I bought in Portugal. My book of the month choices / the publisher also sent this to me. So I asked for St. Martin's sent me a copy of Hester, which is sort of a redoing of The Scarlet Letter from Hester Prynne's point of view. But I forgot that I asked for this, so this arrived and then my book of the month came, so I actually have 2 copies of this. I will probably be selling the other one on Pango. I'll probably sell the book of the month edition because it's got the stupid book of the month thing on it, but really excited for this. Also, it's stunning cover. And thank you to St. Martin Press for sending me that. And I now keep a list of the things I've asked for because I forgot. But I also picked up a Thistlefoot, which I'm really psyched about. I know this is sort of a retelling of a Russian fairy tale, I believe. I've heard good things. I really would like to read this. I'm very excited. I don't know if we're coming in on the end or not. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, I think we're coming in on the end. Knopf sent me this, which I think is going to be really interesting, especially since it is NaNoWriMo. Well, when this goes out, it's going to be NaNoWriMo. So this is Haruki Murakami's, which I'm still trying to figure out if I like Haruki Murakami. Like, he's not a bad writer. That's not the thing is. I just don't know if like his books are my cup of tea. So this is him writing on writing. So this is novelist as a vocation. And I definitely think there's a lot that I can learn from reading books from other authors on their craft. So this super curious about. This is gonna be hard for me to show you with the light on, but really curious about. I don't know if this is out just yet, but if it's not out as of recording, it will be out shortly. Thank you, thank you, thank you to Knopf for sending me this. Super psyched on this. I picked up the Unplugged box sort of special cover editions to match the other cover of Julie Zantopoulos'. This is book 2 in a series that I haven't read yet, but I really do need to read. And the first book is called A Curse in Ash, I think. And this is A Prophecy in Ash. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you the right names. So this is just a slightly different cover than the original. I think the original is like blue or something, and this one's purple, but I figured if I'm going to have the special ones, I want to have the special ones for all of them. And I'm really excited to finally get into this stinking series at some point. And yeah, it's stunning. It's got a signed book plate. She's gorgeous. We love, we love. From Pantheon, Chain Gang All Stars arrived while I was away. This was part of the pile. This sounded very interesting. This is the world. This is the fact. A service is as necessary as life itself. And they, we, you, them, everyone agreed to the arrangement. Welcome to the Chain Gang All Stars, the highly popular, highly controversial profit-raising program in America's private prison system, harkening back to a time of gladiators. Prisoners compete for the ultimate prize, their freedom. This highly anticipated debut novel takes a searing look at the private prison industry, sinister union of criminal justice, systemic racism, and unchecked capitalism, as seen through a captivating near-future dystopia perfect for fans of Squid Game, Watchmen, and Sorry to Bother You. This on top of our discussion of the Women's House of Detention, like I had to say yes to this. Prison abolition. This is going to be a lot to discuss. This is going to be a lot to discuss, and I need to read this. And like, I'm so freaking psyched about this book. And this comes out in April. I have to wait till April for you all to be able to read this, but this sounds so stinking good. Anyway, literary like sci-fi that has political elements, environmental elements, like things that are very connected to today are just so my jam right now. And like I just have such a good feeling about this book. I don't know if you can tell that I have such a good feeling about this book, but I have such a good feeling about this book, and I'm so psyched that I got a copy of it. Only a couple more, I swear. So also, when Mackenzie comes to town, this is from Doubleday. This is about the consulting group McKinsey, who is sort of like, I'm just very curious about McKinsey. I had a friend who was in the interview process with McKinsey to become a consultant, and it's all very sort of mysterious and weird, and like there's like kind of like an evil overlord feeling of McKinsey. I just kind of like want to know more. It's the kind of word that like when I hear it in my head, it's like sort of like stage whispered, like we don't want to wake up McKinsey. I don't know. I'm really excited to read this. Again, I think this is out now or out shortly, and I'm really curious about this one. I have one more from a publisher and then one more that I ordered myself. This is something that Tor actually reached out to me while I was on vacation, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. And this is the first Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson, and this comes out in June of all things. And this just sounded really interesting. Spark wonder with this spellbinding debut for fans of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, check, and The Night Circus. Follow the circus of the fantasticals across the American Midwest and get lost in the story of joy in the face of a frightening tomorrow and breaking free of those who want to keep you small. It sounded really good. I'm curious about a mashup of a book that I absolutely love and a book that I absolutely loathe. I love things that are set in like the Midwest, especially if it's like Dust Bowl. If this is Dust Bowl, this might be sort of Dust Bowl circus stuff. Like, I don't know, there's just, it sounded so freaking good, and I'm super psyched to get into this. So that's out in June. Thank you again, Tor. And then this beauty arrived. Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez arrived. This, first of all, is like, I know she was chunky, but I didn't know she was like chunky, but she's chunky. I'm really excited for this book. So this is the author of Dangers of Smoking in Bed, and she has another collection of short stories, The Things We Save in a Fire, or something like that, The Things You Lose in a Fire. Too many books have that title. I can't remember which one is which. This is her like full-length novel that I'm super psyched to read. It is sort of vampire, and so you know I'm sold on that, but it's not like a straight this is like literary vampire. I'm psyched. And it's going to talk a lot about like Argentine history, I believe. I'm just going to read you the summary of this, and then we're going to wrap this up, because if I look around and find any more books, we've got a problem. This is going to be a long ass fucking haul. His father could find what was lost. His father knew when someone was going to die. His father had talked to him about the dead who rode in on the wind. The dead travel fast. Gasper is 6 years old when the order first comes for him. For years, they have exploited his father's ability to commune with the dead and the demonic, presiding over macabre rituals where the unwanted and the disappeared are tortured and executed, sacrificed to the darkness. Now they want a successor. Nothing will stop the order. Nothing is beyond them. Surrounded by horrors, can Gasper break free? Spanning the brutal decades of Argentina's military dictatorship and its aftermath, Our Share of Night is a haunting, thrilling novel of broken families, cursed inheritances, and the sacrifices a father will make to help his son escape his destiny. Come on. I'm just so here for this book. So this is like one of my most anticipated books of the year, and it's finally here, and I'm really excited. I had to order this from the UK because it's not out in the States until next February, which is just stupid. This came from Blackwell's, which is my new favorite place to order books from overseas. Like, move over, Book Depository. Blackwell's is here. I think that's everything. I don't want to look and find any more, but that's everything I'm going to show you in this book haul. There were a lot of books that have come through. I've got a lot of books to scan into my my libib so that it's accounted for in my library system. I've got a lot of reshelving to do, and I've got a lot of reading to do. So I would love for you to let me know if you've read any of these, if there's anything you're really interested in from some of the arcs, and if there's anything you want me to prioritize because you think that it sounds really interesting, also let me know that too. Anyways, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Ciao.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building chemistry. I don't think I ever wanna go come closer next to me. Trying to find another way to say this, but I think